So I try to be sensitive about spoilers. This week's episode I wrote so that I will have visuals that may be spoilery, but the script itself, everything I say out loud, if you're just listening, there won't be any spoilers. You could close your eyes and just listen to this episode and you won't be missing out on that much. What do you mean you do that every week? Allow me to show you the boss of this week's episode. See, we're not ready for this yet. We gotta go. We'll come back later. So let's start at the beginning. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree was released just last Friday, and it has already become the best reviewed release of 2024 on OpenCritic. It dethroned my precious Rebirth! And on top of that, it has sold 5 million copies. Elden Ring is special. It's in this very unique position of being a huge commercial and huge critical success. It's the rare brew of a broadly popular product that is both legitimately cool and academically proper to like. We haven't seen anything like this since Baldur's Gate 3, but I like Elden Ring as the symbol of the best we've got. The pinnacle of game design. Unassailable. People will complain about it, but they won't be taken seriously. So then, it is interesting there are headlines to be made when Steam reviews for the DLC are generally less than positive. Everybody look! People don't like this thing that everybody is supposed to like. That's juicy. That's a narrative. We have a story here. Now, I realize there's a lot to be said about difficulty, especially with Souls games in particular. It is an entire discourse in gaming. And to be quite frank with you, I don't want to engage with that element of the discussion. Today, I'm not here to talk about the virtue of difficulty as much as the mathematics. No, not yet though, not yet, not this. Oh, not this, not now. Because really, if you are not one of the 5 million people who are playing this DLC right now, I need to explain to you the concept of a Skadoo tree blessing. First, let's go back to a few months ago. We were warned that Shadow of the Erdtree would have its own unique progression system. Hidetaka Miyazaki, the director of Elden Ring, was explaining that in the DLC, coming into this, even if you're ridiculously overleveled, even if you're ridiculously underleveled, everyone will walk into this new landscape on pretty much the same base level. Here was his promise. Players who want to grind and defeat bosses more easily might decide that this boss is too strong, so I'll explore some other area and challenge them again after I get stronger. Alternatively, players can choose to take on bosses when at a lower level if they want to experience more of a challenge. I remember hearing that bit about everybody entering at basically the same level, and that being reassuring to me as someone who is a suboptimal player with a downright stupid build. And at the same time, I don't believe that explanation entirely. And that truly, I think the reason they're doing that is that it is simpler, it is easier to balance out an entire new realm of DLC if everyone entering it will become equally weak. Because yeah, I'll explore some other area and challenge them again after I get stronger is already how regular Elden Ring works. That's how all the Souls games work. That's Pokemon. Pretty much any game where you're leveling up, the solution to meeting an obstacle you cannot overcome is just to go level up some more. That's all of them. So months later, the DLC is out. It's time to learn. What is the method? How will everyone who is equally weak become strong collectively? The answer is Skadoo tree fragments. Skadoo tree, by the way, is a made-up word, but you're meant to roll with it. It is meant to be meaningful to you now. Please accept it. And how Skadoo tree fragments work is that you collect them, and then once you're at a bonfire, you trade those in to earn Skadoo tree blessings. Each blessing is essentially your DLC level. And unlike normal Elden Ring leveling, where you're tinkering with ambiguous stats like intelligence and arcane, here, the only stats that go up are the two most important stats in the world. Damage I do and damage I receive. That's it. So when this expansion launched last Friday, again, please forget that chart for now. We're just talking the original release right now. Each time you level up your Skadoo tree blessing, The damage I do goes up 5% and the damage I receive goes down 5%. And those percentages are not publicized, by the way. It's just for Redditors to figure out. The game itself thinks that it just needs to say the word bolsters a couple of times and you'll be on board. All right, so this is like the best shit you can get right now. And I'm still believing. Elden Ring's the best of us. It's the best we've got. These are among the greatest game development minds in the whole industry. And they've come up with Skidoo Tree Blessings. Now, one day after the DLC released, I'm guessing after seeing some negativity on social media, Bandai Namco US tweeted this. This is a suggestion to level up your Skidoo Tree Blessing. Which is rude, frankly, because it's not a thing you can just control. You can't just grind for more Skidoo Tree fragments. You gotta go find them. And yeah, some of them are just lying in the grass. Some of them are on the hand of a statue you have to precisely jump upon. But at a certain point, you're going to have to fight for Skidoo Tree fragments. And sometimes that fight is with a super tough enemy. Like just imagine a ridiculously tough enemy that there's no way around. But then, yeah, you dispatch that tough enemy and you get a Skidoo Tree fragment. And what I'm saying is also they're finite. It's not just picking up dandelions. There are only a certain amount. Bandai Namco US, in creating this even playing field for all DLC players, the fundamental progression system of Elden Ring has shifted from you wanting to defeat progressively harder enemies to level up more, to you pressing your body against every wall and corner, desperately hoping that the next bluish purplish item you pick up will be the one that makes you stronger. Now the only enemies you truly care to defeat are the ones that come between you and your next Skidoo Tree fragment. Sidebar, incidentally, I do think that this adds this kind of intriguing gambling element to Elden Ring, in that the comparison I have is with older Pokemon games with random battles. Random battles are tedious in any RPG, but with Pokemon, there's always this minuscule, slight chance that you might run into a shiny Pokemon. So even though you're doing this thing over and over, there's still a chance that something extraordinary might happen. What's the score?
Is that...
That's a shiny! That's a shiny! And Shadow of the Erdtree doing this thing where sometimes it'll plop a Skidoo Tree fragment in this totally innocuous spot, a ledge or just on the floor, creates this kind of low-key thrill. This what if? What if this was a hard thing to find. This has got to be a Skidoo Tree fragment. It's like a beast horn. Great. But let's get to our boss. Not now, but soon. We're ready to start thinking about it. Because a very strange thing happened this week. Remember, the DLC launched last Friday, and on Wednesday, FromSoft had uncharacteristically quickly issued a hotfix. A calibration update. It turns out when it says retrieving latest calibrations when you're logging in, that's a thing that's really happening. But here, the concession that FromSoft has made is that the DLC should be easier earlier. Here's the change. The attack and damage negation has been increased for the first half of the maximum amount of blessing enhancements, and the second half will now be more gradual. And you say, what? And again, we have to thank Reddit. I think Reddit. I'm not sure where this image came from. I first saw it on Reset Era. Aaron here tweeted, saw this going around, but for some reason it's an incredibly hard image to source. Maybe it's from a YouTube video? Anyway, if you made this image, thank you. But look at it. You're ready now. You know what this means now. After the calibration, the percentages grow in strange ways. Sometimes by 10% in your early levels, sometimes by 2.5% in your later levels. I can't stop thinking about that chart. It is game design before my very eyes. So if you want to see this in practice, here's Hass. He's my level 173 character. By the way, I've never been level 173 in anything. I realize that is a ridiculous sounding number. What a strange game this is. Now, I do ask that you please refrain from becoming jealous of my stupid build. know that I've wasted a lot of larval tears to get here. But we're looking at Haas's stats here in the regular Elden Ring world. The lands between. And here Haas has an attack power of 522. Seems pretty good, right? But in the Shadow Realm, with a Skidoo Tree blessing of 12, Haas's attack power is 966. Whoa! Now I'm going to do some quick mental math. 85% of 522 is 443.7. Add those together and round up, we're back at 966, which means this chart is probably accurate. And also, Elden Ring, in a rare moment of common sense kindness, appears to be okay with rounding up. But I do find it funny it's just called a calibration. It sounds breezier than a patch, right? This is not a fix. It's just a tweak. It's like if unfair difficulty becomes the narrative around your product, even if you disagree, even if reviewers disagree, if the general reception to it is that it is too difficult, that becomes the subjective truth. And FromSoft says, okay, no big deal. We will recalibrate. Final thing I wanted to point out. This week there was an article published by The Guardian titled, "The Game Design Secrets of Elden Ring's Hidetaka Miyazaki." It's an interview between Keiza McDonald and Miyazaki. And you may have already been aware of it. There was a part of it that became the headline in which Miyazaki humbly states he realized he sucks at games when he did a full playthrough of Elden Ring before getting to work on Shadow of the Erdtree. Isn't that humanizing? Even the director struggles. Get good, says IGN. But if you keep reading past that one part, there is this kind of insightful piece where Miyazaki is talking about finding where the freedom to fail is in this terrifying modern gaming landscape. He says budget, scale, scope, everything has grown to a point where room for failure isn't tolerated as much as I think it was in the past. You have to find the right project to allow for failure, whether it's smaller in scope or scale, or it's a small module within something bigger. There needs to be room for that. I think that's where a lot of young game directors will be challenged and will be able to learn from it. Making sure you understand and identify where those pockets of failure can be allowed is how we try to grow our talent. It's one of the laws of life, right? We learn more from failure than we do from success. That's why I'm here every week trying to find the shiny shirt that will eventually impress you. But I'm sure you could see this parallel coming. Elden Ring is about failure. It's about losing, accepting that you've lost, and then getting better. So I think it's cool that even though we had this best reviewed game of the year, 5 million seller, that the team looked at the response and said, you're right. It is too hard. Here, we'll turn our clean straight line into this jagged, funky landfill mountain. Narrative defeated. And just like that, we're back to mostly positive, babe. And that is Delayed Input. I'll be back next week. Until then, thanks for watching. So to be honest with you, I have more things I want to say about Elden Ring that just didn't fit with the theme of this week's episode. I have 3 things I still love about Elden Ring. And I want to warn anybody who was just listening up to this point to avoid spoilers. I will be stating spoilers now. So we're about to, even audio is not safe any longer. All right, here we go. 3 things I still love about Elden Ring. Number 1 is messages on the floor. Here's a common scenario in lots of video games. You're dropped into a tunnel. There's a path to the left and a path to the right. And one of those will lead to progressing through the level naturally, and the other leads to a secret. How do you know which way to go? Some games have waypoints. Elden Ring has a message on the floor. And it's some guys just like, first try left, then right. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. That's all I wanted to know. What's fun about it is that unlike a waypoint, it feels like we're being crafty. It feels like we're secretly collaborating behind the developers' backs, and they know like a teacher who doesn't actually care that you're sharing answers to the homework because you're at least doing the homework. They don't give a shit. They want you to share these secrets. It's such a fun system. Number 2, freaky NPCs that hate and love you. Obviously, I'm thinking about one NPC in particular, just this lovely crone. She treats you like shit the first time you meet her because she thinks you're involved with a strumpet. But then if you go defeat a boss and wear his head and talk to her, she thinks you're that guy. And by the way, at this point, let me make it clear, I don't fully understand what is going on with the lore here. Anyway, she's so excited to see you, frail as she is, she hands you some scorpion stew. And then eventually you fight this godlike guy that she's got beef with. I think he's the reason that most of the castle is burned down. If you manage to defeat him, you go and tell her about it. And she's like, I already know. I'm so proud of you. Here's gourmet scorpion stew. And to reiterate, I don't know the lore. I don't fully grasp what's happening there, but it doesn't prevent me from having this meaningful interaction with an NPC I love to death. And 3, making a build work. I feel like your Elden Ring build is so personal. And I like that you can make them work. Like, yes, dedicating yourself to claws will lead to 4.5 hours of banging your head against this sunflower monster. But the same dedication to cheesiness is also why we're taking down this loser on our first try. I think Elden Ring is maybe the only game I play where I get a cool new weapon. It's like called Dragon Killing Katana. And its whole lore thing is that it's designed for killing a dragon, and you read the description and it's like, this has an anti-dragon effect. And the NPCs are like, there's a big dragon coming up probably. I gotta feel like you're on your way you're probably gonna go fight a big dragon. Like, check out the sword. And I say, all right. I like my bear claws, thank you. Why? What game? Every other game you say dragon sword for killing a dragon. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's try it out. In Elden Ring, I don't give a shit, dude. I'm a bear claw man.